administrator at the Town of Gorham Historical Society. One of our volunteers said that they had heard about a program that Newcomb had put on, and thought we should try and get it. And Dick was very willing, and Pastor Tricia was very willing to have it. She was excited as we were about doing it. So we want to thank them both for making this possible. And there is a sign-up sheet going around, and if you would be sure to sign in on that, we'd appreciate it. And Dick, the floor is yours.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
I was going to use teacher voice, but my wife said, maybe you ought to. So that is a little bit about me. I taught at Marcus Whitman for 33 years. Wonderful experience, wonderful people, wonderful school. I was a biology major at Hobart, and my fraternity brother, Terry Holland, is here to support me today. And so, I was a bio major, and being science, everything was locked in. Senior year, I had 2 electives. So I took American Art and Architecture, which I'm very interested in. I was involved in the Rose Hill project somewhat in Geneva at that time. And I took Christian Art and Symbolism. And I was acolyte thurifer at the Episcopal Church in Geneva through my youth. So I was involved in church as well, and then joined this church in the early 70s with our children, Sunday school. It was a wonderful place for the family. So as I look around the place, and got thinking about my Christian Art and Symbolism, you are in one of the most perfect settings for that. This building is a treasure, an absolute treasure. And I want to share with you some of the things that I know about it. And maybe you could jump in, ask questions, and you may know some of the things that I don't. Somebody said once that you'll meet somebody today that knows something you don't. And it's really true. It's really true. So, I don't know if you came in, mostly we come in the back door nowadays, but the front door, over the top of it, it says Methodist Episcopal Church. And there's the tie-in. John and Charles Wesley were young men together at Oxford College. Very large family, very religious family. The father was a vicar in the Episcopal Anglican Church at that time, and so they had quite a background in it. And while they were at Oxford, they met with other kids that were of the same thinking. As a tropical fish guy, I always refer to those sorts of things as the neon tetra effect. If you go buy tropical fish, different ones, and you put them in a tank and then release them, they all go with their buddies. And they tend to pair off. Neon tetras do that. Well, these people found Charles and they found John. They found a lot of companionship. They formed a club, a religious club, together with other people, and began to meet. And they were very organized. They had kind of a strict regimen, practice the way they operated, and other clubs said, "Oh, you know those guys? They're Methodists." Because they're very strict in their methods. They didn't coin the term. The other people, Methodists, and it stuck to this day. They organized on the idea of belief in involvement with the society. The people outside the formal church. In fact, I can remember Kate, I think, telling us, the former pastor, about they met on their father's church steps outside and carried on the services to the people outside. And that's what they kind of believed in, that they became more traveling ministers, if you will, in that sense. They believed a lot in community, that the church should be part of the community and part of social issues. They were abolitionists. Now we're talking 1770s, 60s. They were against slavery. And they also believed that women pastors, women should be involved in the church. That was quite a long time ago. So, that's a little bit about the background of the Wesleys that formed the foundation of the Methodist Church. Now let's talk about symbols. That's why we're here. Start with the building. And most church buildings, Christian churches, have one of two shapes. They will either be the shape of the Latin cross, okay, like that one, or the Greek cross. This one is a Greek cross, okay? This is an octagon. This is an 8-sided building, okay? And there's a purpose for that, and the whole thrust and the whole meaning of the early people that founded this particular church revolved around that. As I will point out to you, everything has a symbol, has numbers have meaning, okay? And 8 is one of the ones that has a lot of meaning. It means resurrection. And they believe very wholeheartedly in the resurrection of Jesus and the salvation through Jesus. And so 8 became the main theme that they used in this building. The other thing, if you look at a Greek cross, equal side, now there's some symbols here, you'll see one if you're not sure what it is. If you draw a horizontal line and a vertical line through it, it forms a perfectly balanced cross. Okay, so that's part of the theme. Most Christian churches are built facing east. This one is. Think about others you've been in and where they're located. They're built facing east. Why? Jerusalem, Jesus. That's where he is in the east. So that's why they do that as much as possible. The cross that you see in this church, you have a contrast between the Catholic cross and the Protestant cross. And how did it get that way? What's the difference between these? This is probably our key symbol of Christianity, our cross. Well, the Methodists and Protestants, they focus in on the resurrected Christ. That he's gone to heaven waiting for us. And the Catholic Church is more the suffering and the giving of his life for the people of the church. I mean, they're both very meaningful. That's kind of how it came about, the differences of the two. As you look around, and as I'm talking about different things, keep thinking about the 8. When the people of this present time built the fellowship hall, think about it. It's an octagon. I know Everson built it. It's an octagon. They chose to continue that theme of the 8 sides. There's other numbers that are significant. You'll look for things that are in 4. Okay, Trish and I were looking at these windows. Probably everybody can see at least one. If you look at the very top, sort of leaves, but that one's got the same thing. Purple. How many of them are there? 4. Those are for the 4 evangelists: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They represent the 4 evangelists. There's 5, and there's 5 as a significant number. I really haven't come across the 5. There might be one here that I just haven't seen. And that's for the wounds of Christ in the crucifixion.
There's 5 windows in the sanctuary area.
Okay, and that could have been actually purposeful. 5 wounds of Christ. 8 I've already talked about, but it has some other meaning as well as the resurrection, and it'll come up later. From Christ's entry into Jerusalem on Sunday, 8 days later, crucified, died, and rose. 8 days. There is why they picked 8. Okay? It was from his entry, death, resurrection. 8 days. 10, if you see 10, what do you think? 10 commandments. The 10 commandments. 40 is a big one. All right, I'm going to ask you to find a 40 in a minute. There's a symbol, 40 is a symbol of trial and probation. Okay? For the Jews, they wandered 40 days in the wilderness before they found their homeland. Moses, 40 days on Mount Sinai. Noah, reigned for 40 days and 40 nights. Christ, after his baptism, went into the wilderness for 40 days, was tempted by the burning bush and the devil and all that during that time. 40. Okay? Lent, 40 days, and that is in commemoration of Christ's. And now, look around. You kind of have to look up. And there used to be a light up there. And there may be again very soon, but in that lovely. How many window panes are there? 8. And at the bottom of each window pane, there's how many circles? 5. And 5 stands for the wounds of Christ. And there's 8 panels times 5 is what? 40 days that Christ, well, any of the ones that I just cited, but most likely Christ being in the wilderness, tempted by the devil. You'll also see some letters on there. Maybe, if you look right in the middle, E-L. Of course, there's 4 of them. That's the evangelists. But the letters themselves, I didn't ever know what they were. Couldn't figure that one out. And Kate did some research in the church records, and she found that back in time there was a group called, and I may not get it right, but it's close, Ephraim League or Emperor League, okay? And they were a group that supported. My mother belonged to the Rankin Hills, the Episcopal Church in Geneva. You know, they would put on dinners and, you know, support efforts in the church. And I believe, from what we could figure out, that's what they did. And may have contributed to that, but my guess would be they paid for that window. Oh, there's the pastor has the actual charter, I guess you might say. I probably couldn't pronounce it right in front of me. Epworth League. Terrific.
So if anybody wants to look at
Yeah.
this.
And, you know, and my guess would be they probably are the ones that pay for that window. Just, I guess. Now, the windows themselves are the main reason we're here. We have the large windows, of course, and we're talking a lot about them. But then there's a lot of side windows. And what's really special here, most of them have a symbol in them. And after we break, you're more than welcome to walk around and kind of poke look back into the office and stuff, and actually see the symbols that I'm going to describe that are in those windows. The 2 large windows, of course, contain many of the familiar events in the life of Christ. I will return to them, because that would be kind of the main reason. Now, the small windows, many have a specific symbol, and I'm going to walk around and talk about them a little bit. And one of the things that I noticed about them is that, you'll see them donated by someone, as are the big ones. Early members of this church, and most of them are donated in memory of someone. And every single one of them, except one, is donated to the memory of a woman. Okay, I'll start with the one guy. He's right here, and his name is Edward Stokey. Now, Stokey was a big name in this township, and I can identify with it because I'm living in a Stokey house. If you know where I live, out past the Kraut factory on the right-hand side, Tupelo up on the top, that was a house that was built by William Stokey and his wife. And many Stokeys lived in this community at various places. So I'm sure they were extremely active in this church. And then if you go around to the other ones, we're climbing up here. This one, Abigail, one of them, I believe that is. That one is Effie May Stokey, and it's son, so it's probably married name. That one is Ilokia, I believe Sutherland Lane. Lane is another name that was strong in the community. When I first moved in, they had the Ford garage and other things here, people by the name of Lane. So as you go around, you'll see the names, and as I say, all but this one, in the memory of someone. And I'm sure that each one of those families contributed in memory of their loved one, the window, and may have been involved in the symbolism in it, which we'll get to. Everything has a symbolic meaning as you're sitting here. Monograms, colors, shapes. I'll start with the colors of the windows and then talk about the shapes. As you look at these, and the big ones too, when you go back to it, it's a little easier to see than these. Most of them have a dark square on the bottom, usually in a gray tone. Okay. And so do the big windows. And then as your eye moves up towards the top, it gets lighter and lighter and transitions into yellows and golds and white. And what that is, every single one of them, is our life. We start out the earth, you know, ashes to ashes, and you start out as earth. And then you transition your life up through trying to reach what? Heaven. You know, resurrection, and then see how they go? Shapes, as we look around, circles. You see some circles? A couple of nice ones and big one there. Many of the symbols are wrapped in a circle, which have colors, but we'll get back to them. Okay, circle. A circle is a symbol of God. There's no beginning and there's no end. Make sense? A triangle. What do you think? The Trinity. Square. I think I kind of mentioned the square. Earth. The square is a symbol of the earth. Pentagrams. That's a 5-pointed structure. There's one I know of. You may find others. What's 5? Wounds of Christ. Monograms. Monogram is letters. One of the first, and I think there's at least 2 in here, Omega. The Alpha and the Omega. There's one right there, and then on the other side, the Omega. The Alpha is the first, they are the first and last letters of the Greek alphabet. You see a lot of influence in our early buildings, the Gothic churches in Europe, influenced by Greek and Latin, history. And you'll see an interchange, an awful lot, even sometimes a blending of the Latin and Greek together. Well, that's Christ also said, "I am the Alpha and the Omega." I am the beginning and the end. How about IHS? Sometimes you'll see that.
Up in the cross.
You got it, you're from. Those are the first three letters of the name of Jesus in Greek. Okay? INRI. Now that one we see sometimes at the top of a cross, of a lead cross. Now that one has the IHS. But you see the IN. What did Pilate do to signify who that was they were crucifying?
King of the
Put a
Jews.
plaque, or he had it put on a plaque on the top of the cross. And what did it say? Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. Sarcastic? I'm not sure. I mean, he was aware of the power of Jesus, that's for sure. And the trial, they had to deal with the Jewish authorities at the time. So I've heard that looked at two different ways. It could be just a sarcastic remark, or it could be respect. I'm really not sure. You can wash his hands. Okay, Cairo, that's like XP, and sometimes the two letters are put on top of one another. There is one, at least one, on that one. The Cairo is, you see it on the right hand, well, I'm sorry, it's on both sides, isn't it? Or is that Alpha Omega on that side? I think that's Alpha Omega on that side, the Cairo over here. And see how they put the two of them together? And if they are the first two letters in Greek of the word for Christ. So now we have one that did, Jesus, and then Jesus, and then this one, Christ. They're often overlapped, which also forms a cross. Okay, so you have Alpha and Omega, which is in that one, by the eastern one, and then over on this side, you have that one, and that's by Clementus, and I'll get back to that plan. I think I covered a lot of the small ones I wanted to. As you go around, and I hope we will take the time to go around, you'll see different symbols. The chalice, Last Supper, okay, and the book, okay. Behind you, some of you can see that. I don't know if you all can. There's another chalice. There's another book. Every bit of it has a meaning. It's not just the symbol itself, but remember it's got a circle around it. I'll get to some of the colors too in a bit. So there's a lot to that. And then the color shift. When allegedly Tiffany, I think that's what I was told, some of them are, if not all. The artist maybe worked with the people that they were paying, the people that were dedicating the window to a loved one. How did you want it? Was there a certain symbol that really was meaningful to you? Just guessing? And then they would go add other little things to it. We have I think it's in the, I think it's in this one. I'm not sure what to call it, office of the study. There's a star in there. Star of David. Isn't that Jewish? Isn't the Star of David Jewish? I want to remind you, Jesus was a Jew. We tend to forget that. We shouldn't. Jesus was a Jew. And one of the main reasons he came was he wasn't real happy with the way the Jewish faith was being practiced at that time. About 12 years old, turned over the two. I mean, he, he was a little upset. Star of David is used by both Christians and Jews. In the Jewish faith, it means faith, endurance, think about it, even now. Faith, endurance, and divine protection. In the Christian faith, it's called the Creator's Star. And it is two overlap triangles. On the window, they don't have the lines through it, but it is two overlap triangles, the Trinity. And that is the Trinity, the Creator's Star. So Star of David, Creator's Star. Which, by the way, I read, comfortable and appropriate for us to wear them too, or both vice versa. And I didn't know that. You'll also see a dove, and a dove is probably our most known symbol of peace. Peace dove. It's also a symbol of reconciliation. Torch, there is one of those, so you can find it. And what do you think on that one? Well, let's see. Torch is a flame, it's a light, right? Christ is the light of the world. The chalice, we kind of already talked about, and the tablets. There's one that's tablets. Not book, but actually the two tablets. What do they mean? 10 Commandments. Okay? Really the foundation of both faiths. Now let's talk about the big windows. You're looking at one of the most beautiful ones I've ever seen. Out of the, what is the story here that they're going for? Good shepherd. Good shepherd. Good shepherd. Okay? That's the good shepherd. Now there's a couple of different ways to interpret the good shepherd. These are, in both the Old Testament and New Testament, there are a lot of parables. And what a parable basically is, it's a story. Remember, a lot of this was oral history for ages, passed down as oral history before they began to write things down. And it was meant to kind of be a lesson. The moral of the story is, you don't do that because I'm your father and I said so. Parables. All right, it can also be a spiritual lesson. Something trying to direct you more towards God or Jesus in this case. Now, this one, there are ones that depict him with one on the shoulders. And this one, he's holding the lamb. And if you have been in other churches or you see other paintings like that, there's a couple of different depictions of it. One is that the lost sheep. Somebody that has kind of strayed away from the church way, and Jesus kind of brings him back in. Through his life, we certainly saw a lot of examples of that. And the other is more of a protective one. I'm here to protect my people. I tend to look at this one a little bit more like that. You've got the little lamb, he's there to protect it. And the other older sheep is looking up at him adoringly. And there's the staff. He's a Jew. That's Moses guiding the people. All right? And then this thing is filled with so many other symbols, buildings, trees, plants. We'll go through some of those. The lamb, when you see the lamb, well, Jesus is thought of as the Lamb of God, the Son of God. And here's where some colors start to come into play. Now, I've seen that Good Shepherd in windows too before, in other places, often white. And white is one of the highest forms of purity. A white cassock or something that a minister might wear, that's purity. This one, he's got that bright red, I guess you'd say, or crimson cloak on, but he also has wrapped around his shoulders. That color is called cyan, C-Y-A-N. Now, here's a little science lesson. Sorry, gotta do it. There are primary and secondary colors. All right? A couple students here that may remember me doing this in class. Primary and secondary colors. Well, the primary color red, its secondary color is cyan. Okay? Primary color of blue, its secondary color is yellow. Okay? And there's green, and this magenta, which is sort of purple, its secondary color. And I thought, how can I do this here? But I have to take my word for it. It works. What I used to do is I had whiteboards, and then I put one side by side, and I put a black dot here and a black dot here with a marker on the whiteboard. Then I would take from colored paper, I would take one of the colors, either one. Let's say I started with red, put a red dot in the middle of it, and hung it up there. And I say, okay, guys, I want you to stare at that for about 20 or 30 seconds. And then when I say okay, I want you to shift over here and look at the dot on the whiteboard. So they would. Okay, and then you go, whoa! What you see if you do the red square, look over here, it'll be cyan. And then if you do, like the green, you see the magenta, or the other way around. Okay? My big finish. I took an American flag and I made the red stripes cyan, the white stripes, by the white and black. Okay, so I made the white stripe black, the blue field yellow, okay, and then the dot. And that's why I put the flag up there. They're staring at this magenta, this flag. Stare at the thing that. Now it's going to take a little longer, so stare for a long time. They would look over and then you'd hear, whoa, red, white, and blue. They would see, after image that's called, in their mind's eye, they would see a red, white, and blue flag, which is really pretty cool. Last of the science lesson, your brain sees in secondary colors. Think about that for a while. Those colors. It's not the same as mixing paint, by the way. It's not at all the same as mixing paint and someone else with colors of paint. So Terry's thinking. Because he is good. All right. Can anybody find 8 of anything in it? Big one?
The purple
There's
dots.
8 lavender circles. Okay. And
There's 8 on each.
Yep.
8 and 8.
yeah. Now I'm gonna call lavender purple and read you that. Purple has always been associated with royalty and is accepted of imperial power. As such, is sometimes used as a symbol of God the Father. Purple is also the color of sorrow and penitence. Okay? Liturgical color for Advent and Lent. So all of those robes that Trish wears when she does, they all change color with the seasons depending upon a particular meaning. So there's 8 of these.
Then there's 8 bigger circles.
Yeah, 8, yeah. Now that is a momentous. I love them. And apparently they've been around for a long time. So there's a read about it, and there's over on the right-hand side of that one, there's one of those, clematis vine. And sometimes called passion flower, and the original ones are purple. Like that. Okay. You see Alpha and Omega here, we talked about that. Circles. See a 4? Let's think of this one. Four evangelists. Yeah. I'm not sure, the palm trees are in a lot of things, but I think for this particular sake, it's the entry into Jerusalem in Palm Sunday. The other plant, and not too sure.
It's supposed to be a lily.
What do you think? I'm not sure.
Easter lily. Easter lily.
Especially that one over.
This here?
Oh, with the green one?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah, got that. I mean, it's got here. I'm not too sure. This one might come back if we get to that one over there. Because Pastor Trish spotted one and I didn't know it, and that, we may come back to that one perhaps. Okay?
So what kind of up there, the purple on this one and this one? I mean, it looks sort of like a cross, but it's not a cross. The top of these.
In Florida leaves, those purple things,
Yeah.
how many leaves does a Florida leaf have?
3.
3?
And that is the Trinity.
Okay.
Okay. And I didn't count, I actually, maybe I did a long time ago, I haven't actually counted those circles up there on the top. Let's see how many those are. I had not done that. Certainly with the buildings in the background, it's, you're talking probably Jerusalem. The Easter lilies, passion, and suffering. You see the gradation of color? Blue sky. That is a magnificent window. This was the Hershey family. Huge name in Gorham. Hershey's. I had the pleasure of knowing many of them.
So we have no idea who made this,
Who made them?
who did the,
We actually made them. We believe it. Most of them around this area are pictures.
so
Now, one of the reasons we felt so many members is he's been here a long time. When I was young and we were talking about these windows, like, wow, we should protect those, some kid with a nice one. So we paid good money back then to put the top kind of plexiglass on the outside to protect them. Oh, I just want to step back here and see if I can help you. Back to the shepherd. You're gonna see a lot of them. There's some with red. A lot of them with red, but you'll see a lot of them with white roses as well. This one. And I know they said the red Messiah in on purpose. The duality of Christ. Okay?
What would it take to identify it as a particular class? What would it take to identify it as a particular?
I don't know if we have records or how you would do that, but I bet you can.
Is it felon Clifton, the Agustina Apartments in the last summer's system?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to see the cleaning of that thing, and my wife played the organ for its dedication. Tears to everybody's eyes. All right, how about this guy? Well, that's a theme, no doubt about that. And I wanna go back to what the empty cross, the eight, the really influence that the early Methodists felt that Christ had risen. And this is, of course, when the women showed up early in the morning to anoint Christ's body with oil and such. Stone was rolled aside, and the angel, the archangel, was there. It's empty. There was lots of symbols. Let me ask you, which woman do you think is Mary Magdalene? She's the one that found the empty tomb.
Purple.
The one in red.
You might think so. Look at the dress of the three ladies. Which one does not have her head covered? Yeah, that most likely is Mary Magdalene. Okay. I'll let you look for some other symbols. Can you find another Easter lily? And that's, those Greek letters are, what are they? The
Alpha and Omega.
Alpha and Omega. Okay, first and last of Jesus' name, and then they're intertwined. But that's what, and there are two different colors there, and each one of those colors has its meaning. Okay, how about Cairo? The Cairo over here, okay? And you don't see the top of it very well because of the frame, but it's a P. And that's another clematis flower. Lots and lots of churches I've seen, I've even seen them in the beautiful tile floors where you see the vine in there. And that they symbolizes, the vine symbolizes like pretty sturdy, tough growth. And the church would be the people of the church would represent that. A lot of fleur-de-lis. This one is the memory of another Jonathan Arnold. Stand in Cyprus, I can't see that. Is that right? Blue, anybody closer might be. Steve, can you make up that last name?
It looks like a D-E-C-L-A-Y.
The play or something like that. Now this one, in memory of First Lieutenant, all right, U.S. Army. And Civil War, most likely. I don't know. Maybe we might have a record of that someplace.
We looked him up in the Department of Defense. He did serve in the Civil War.
Civil War.
But apparently never got any further south in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Okay.
What's the spelling of the last name?
It was, I want to say it was Deckley, actually. I have it written down somewhere, but it's.
Doubly?
Yeah, it was Deckley, Deckley, I
Oh,
think.
okay.
Oh,
But I'll have to look it up.
Maybe Yeckley? Y-E-C?
Oh, it could be. Yes, that's
his
right.
name.
Okay, Yeckley. Could be, yeah.
Oh,
Like I
why?
said, I can't remember exactly.
Okay,
Yeah, there's probably one.
good. How about looking around for some other symbols that we haven't talked about yet?
So what kind of cross is that, the red cross is called?
Kind of,
The
What
red
kind of cross?
up there at the top of the.
it's a Latin cross. You know, that's the Latin cross.
But there's the
Plant.
plant behind it.
Okay, green, my favorite color, is plants. And it symbolizes in nature, it symbolizes from spring to winter, which is kind of our lives, but also could mean your spiritual growth as well.
Would that scroll be the Book of Life?
Which one, Steve?
That's
Over on the right?
scroll.
I'm not sure. It's on both sides. I don't know, Steve. Yeah, probably. It's definitely a scroll. What'd you say? Fleur-de-lis above it. I see one we haven't mentioned. How did Christ wind up in that tomb? What had happened to him?
Crucified.
He'd been crucified, and what happened to him just before the crucifixion? The guards, they beat him and they
To the crown.
crowned, there you got it. See the thorns? On the corner of the hip? Crown of thorns. And how about the crucifixion itself? Is that there someplace?
Go there.
See it? Deep, deep purple, deep red. Empty crosses. Today you'll be with me in paradise, he said to the bandits. Okay. Now, when I was refreshing my memory with Pastor Trish, I said, I don't know what that plant right there in the corner is with the red. And she said,
Well, I got it backwards, actually.
she got it backwards, I'll jump in.
I said it was hyssop, and I was wrong. Hyssop is over there, that kind of spiky plant. And that spiky plant, hyssop, it indicates purity because you can use it to bleach things. But this is a fig.
Ah,
And in Matthew 24, verses 32 and 33, now learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth its leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see all these things, know that it is near at the doors. It's a symbol of reincarnation, or not reincarnation, of resurrection. Sorry, oh my gosh, it's a day. It's a symbol of resurrection, so they put it in the tomb.
that's it. Underline the hyssop. Now, we looked that up, and you remember when he was on the cross, he said, I thirst. And they gave him gall, vinegar. Okay? Actually, I looked at it a little more than that. Anyway, and it was on the branch of hyssop. Apparently, did that. And if you look up gall, it's a mixture of different things, including herbs and. Okay. I think I'm close to the dot end. Yeah. Go ahead. There you go. This is an absolute treasure. This is true. Gotta save it somehow or other. Anything else? And this is some goodies.
First, we'd like to thank Trish and the church for having us here and for having coffee and refreshments afterwards. That is absolutely wonderful. And then we'd like to give you this little token appreciation. I hope you will open it and I hope you will wear it all over the place. So as many of you know, we're working on fundraising to buy the Hoffman House. And this is one of the fundraisers that we're doing. Sweatshirts. And I think even stuff